Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas dropping a new note today about Ford and the EV makers. Our Phil LeBeau joins us now with more. Phil, the stocks are sinking. New low for GM.
Yep.
Adam Jonas says the following. Last Wednesday, Ford announced a target of 2 million EV unit sales by 2026. That's a lot of EV battery material, he says. Where will Ford source all these raw materials? Call us if you have any ideas. And you know, Phil, why does he say that? Because where do they get the materials from?
Oh, Scott, this is what everybody in the auto industry has been talking about for some time. If you listen to all of the projections that are put out there, and it seems like we get a new one every 3 or 4 weeks from a different CEO in the auto industry around the world, it's always a greater number of EVs that they plan to build by 25 or 26 or maybe even by 2030. And yet the supply is just not there. And today the focus for Adam Jonas is nickel. And here's what he says within his note. This is not a question of capital near term. No amount of capital can create new nickel mines by 2024. And yet, just last week, what did Ford say? Ford said that it plans to increase the number of EVs it has in production on an annual basis to 2 million per year by 2026. That's a dramatic increase from the previous projection. They're also going to be raising the commitment that they will be spending when it comes to EVs to $50 billion by 2026. It was $30 billion by 2025. Jim Farley, when we talked with him last Wednesday after they made this announcement, I said to him, look, you guys don't have the nickel. Nobody in the industry has as much nickel as is going to be needed. Here's what he had to say.
We're committed to this 2 million. We'll have the raw material, all the supply chain, the vertical integration, and now we're just finishing the vehicles that will be coming out and converting our manufacturing facilities. But don't bet against Ford.
He also went on to say during that interview, we will be having more announcements. You'll be hearing from us. So clearly, they are going to be making greater commitments to source that nickel. Now, where they're going to get it from, Scott, is a good question. As you take a look at the primary auto stocks, and we're talking about the U.S. auto stocks, we're talking about not just Ford, but we're talking about GM, Stellantis. You've got Tesla, obviously, which has a huge commitment, not only here in North America, but also now in Europe and obviously in China when it comes to sourcing nickel, lithium, all of the key components that you need for an EV battery. And yet the question remains, Scott, where is this industry going to get as much as everybody is committed to? Or at some point, do all of the automakers gradually come out and say, yeah, we're not going to hit those targets that we put out there for 25 or 26?
Well, I mean, we can put our brains in gear, pardon the pun, and suggest that there's no way they're going to meet their targets, given the fact that Russia...
Right. That's essentially what Adam Jonas is saying.
Well, of course.
That's what he's saying. And Russia what others in the industry will admit to, but not publicly.
Russia's the world's largest producer of primary nickel products used in EVs. So if you have a game changer from here forward in the sourcing of that material, there is no possible way that they will meet those targets in the time frame which they lay out.
Yep.
Tesla shares are obviously not falling a lot today, but Musk has tweeted about this issue in his own right.
Oh, absolutely.
In the past as well, talking about it being the single most important issue of nickel supplies. So, I don't need necessarily Jim Farley to tell me don't bet against Ford. That's great. What else is he going to say? Tell me where you're going to get the nickel.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This is what every single analyst is talking about. If they haven't written about it, like Adam Jonas has, they've talked about it. It's talked about amongst executives in the auto industry. If you talk with the people who work with the battery suppliers, almost all of them scratch their head and they go, there's no way. There is no way this industry worldwide can hit the targets that are out there. And yet, you hear these pronouncements made. Now, some of that, Scott, you could make an argument was that there was the froth that was in the market, let's say 6 months to a year ago, from startups, EV startups, who said, we're going to have a commitment for X number of EVs. And as those stocks moved higher, there was pressure that was building on the traditional automakers to show that they have the commitment for the future. So they made these commitments. And I'm not saying that they're lying. What I am saying is everybody is making this commitment, and it's a game of musical chairs. There's just not enough nickel and some of the other key components in the world right now. And is that likely to change anytime soon? No. And almost every analyst will tell you that.